Experience. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and with me today is Jen Peeples.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Feels like I haven't been on this show in forever.
Haven't you?
I haven't.
Oh.
It's been, a couple of months maybe?
Why is that?
Oh yeah, we had a 3-week hiatus.
Well, okay, yeah, that happened.
Yeah. So.
I've also not been on for a while. I think I haven't been on since I came back from Memphis and did the American Atheist Convention.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I can't remember. It's been a while for me too. Today would be Sunday, April 26, 2015. We are a live call-in public access show based in Austin, Texas, dedicated to promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We're also available through live streaming video at ustream.tv, and this week, yes, we really are.
Yeah.
The official Atheist Experience website is www.atheist-experience.com. You can provide feedback to the show by going to the official show blog at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP, or you can email us at tv@atheist-community.org. If you enjoy this show, you can check out our related podcast, The Non-Prophets, which is airing on the first and third Wednesdays of every month. You can find links at the Atheist Experience website, and the next Non-Prophets will be recorded this Wednesday on April 29th. And as always, the cast and crew of the Atheist Experience will be going to dinner after the show at El Arroyo, 1624 West 5th Street, arriving around 6 p.m. A couple of minor announcements. If you are in the Orange County, Los Angeles area, next week I'm going to be there. There's going to be the OC Free Thought Alliance conference, and I'll be speaking about atheism, the internet, and video games. ACA this year is a sponsor of Camp Quest. We funded 4 campers, and you can check out the ACA website for more details, probably.
Yeah.
Finally, there's an election next week.
Yes, indeed.
We haven't mentioned that hardly at all, but if you are local to Austin, you're going to want to show up and make sure your dues are paid up as a member, because you can hold the fate of the ACA in your hands.
Yes.
What's going on? Is anything else happening? That it's this next Sunday, right?
Right, next Sunday, 1 o'clock at the ACA library.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have the election, and we'll socialize a bit, and we'll provide some soft drinks. And I don't know if did we commit to providing pizza, or what did we do? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like
we'll
we
do
did,
something.
but there might be.
Yeah, maybe there'll be pizza there. I don't know.
Anyway,
we'll have something there.
But
for
you'll
you
get to
eat.
vote. That's the best part.
Yeah, that's the best part. And if you're not a member and you want to be, you can join right there at the elections. So,
yes.
So just because you haven't paid your dues yet, no problem. Show
Doesn't
up.
mean you shouldn't show
You
up.
can
Yeah.
pay your dues on the spot and vote in the election. And Russell is running for vice president, so.
But I'm not going to be there.
Yeah,
so
sadly
I'm
he
going
won't
to
be
be
there.
absentee.
But he is going to run for vice president.
And
so.
nobody else is running against me, so.
Yeah.
But you can show up, run against me, and probably sweep it because, you know. Anyway.
Anyway, so. In fact,
so
all of the current board will be returning. They'll be standing for election again. So.
Great. So what's on your mind today?
Well, we got an email, and it's we get a lot of email, and once in a while one pops out as something that might have broader interest to people. And I know that we get a lot of emails about religious indoctrination of children, and particularly where there's one party that's kind of objecting to it, and then there's a really fundamentalist type on the other side that's really trying to indoctrinate the children. So we got one of those emails, and it's kind of got an interesting twist here. So I'll read a little bit of it for you. Paraphrasing a bit, this guy writes to us, he raised his children to be kind of indifferent to religion. He's an atheist, although he didn't identify as one until probably 5 years or so ago. And now he regrets that he didn't become more of an activist sooner, because I guess he and his wife divorced many years ago. She's a real Bible thumper, according to him. and now they have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter. And the ex-wife is indoctrinating the 2.5-year-old granddaughter. And he says he doesn't want her to confuse her, but he doesn't want this sort of information to go uncontested. And he's wondering how to handle this. You know, does he basically start a conflict within the family over this? So anyway, he wants to know, you know, what our advice would be. And so I thought I'd throw this out there. And unfortunately, as a grandparent,
Yeah,
you don't actually
have a lot
have
of authority.
Yeah, you don't have any rights. There aren't any such things like grandparents' rights. So
If it can be demonstrated that some kind of abuse is going on, then
Right.
that's one thing. But
even then, the parents would have to be the ones. I mean, I guess a grandparent could raise an issue of abuse, but really the parents need to be involved in this. And so my recommendation is talk to your children about how they feel about your child, about how he feels about his daughter being indoctrinated. And if he objects, then he certainly has grounds to basically stop the indoctrination. And as an aside, you know, I agree that indoctrination shouldn't go unchallenged. And so you have just as much right to present your views to your grandchildren as their grandmother does. So, you know, I mean, I don't think that you should start a family war over it, but certainly, you know, 2.5 is old enough to begin an indoctrination process. It's
Yeah.
also old enough to have a conversation about, you know, what's real and what's imaginary.
right, yeah, and you know, you know, as long as you're not getting cut off from
Yeah.
the kid, from access to the kid yourself, which is a real time to start worrying. You can certainly have those conversations with the kid and work to undermine that kind of
Yes.
indoctrination and talk about, you know, your non-belief and your views on sort of cultish religious training,
Yeah.
and, you know, start the kid on some critical thinking as early as you can.
Yeah. One of the things that I'd point out as well, and Russell, I'm sure you can speak to this being a parent yourself, is that this is not a one and done conversation with a kid. Even a kid who's a little bit older, this conversation about religion and what people believe and why they believe it is an ongoing conversation that you'll have with a child, you know, for their whole life, basically, until they're of an age when they've, you know, got enough reasoning ability and information to form their own, you know, firmly held beliefs. So don't think that you're going to be able to have this conversation and then, you know, not have it again.
Yeah, and on that note, I would say that the most important thing you can do for the kid is make sure, first and foremost, that you have a good relationship with them.
Yeah.
So, you know, be an active part of their lives, take them out to do fun stuff, because, you know, the child, while, you know, he can't control who he's with all the time, he certainly has a say in who he likes to be with.
Right.
And if you are on good terms, just person to person with your grandkid, then they'll be a lot more likely to be interested in what you have to say. And let's be honest, church of all kinds tends to be kind of boring for kids, and it can be a real breath of fresh air for a kid to hear a trusted and respected authority figure saying, "Oh yeah, I know how you feel. That, you know, that stuff's nonsense."
Yeah, especially a little bit older when they start playing the emotional hook about, you know, didn't you feel the presence of the Holy Spirit when you were there? And there's an awful lot of social pressure in that situation for kids to go along with what other people are, this kind of information other people are feeding them. And yeah, you want to build a relationship with a kid that kind of lets them shrug that off, like, oh, okay, that's part of the church deal, you know, that's what they do, and it becomes easier to shrug that off if you're.
And make sure you're the one that your grandkids come to when they want to talk about the experiences that they've had with somebody neutral.
Yep. Okay, so that's that's what I had for today. So
Okay,
I guess we can
thanks
go to
for
calls.
bringing that up.
Yeah.
So we're going to start today with Tony in California.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
You're
Well,
on.
It sounds like you're calling in from a ham radio or something, but but we can hear you. Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
Pretty good.
So my question, I debate a lot with my godfather. He's a theist, and I'm an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And I try, like the last debate we had, I was asking about what he thought about mentally ill going to heaven and if it changed your personality. And in those debates, he always goes to, it seems like you have, like, hurt heart, you just need to find Jesus. But
Yeah.
he'll never answer the question. I'm wondering if you guys have any techniques to get him to answer the question.
My general answer to questions like that is no. If you are dealing with a particular individual who's stubborn and obnoxious and making personal comments, you can't change them, and it's not your problem. You can tell that person if you want, look, you're kind of rude when you talk about religion, and I am not that interested in what you have to say.
He's not rude about it. I just
Okay.
want, whenever I pose a question to him, it seems like his go-to is just deflecting, and that I won't be able to understand because I don't have Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So my question is, aside from him, understand this is your godfather?
Yeah, he's my godfather.
Okay. So aside from the godfather part, what's his relationship to you?
Oh, we're really close. After my father passed away, he's been a big part of my life.
Okay.
So I care about him a lot. He's a good guy. It's not like he tries to push, but he, whenever he brings it up, because every once in a while he'll bring up religion, and I don't mind talking about it.
Okay.
It's just whenever I try to pose a hard question that goes outside of the realm of his basic Bible, he just deflects.
Yeah.
Well, have you tried telling him, it sounds to me like you have a hurt heart. It doesn't look like Jesus is doing you much good. I mean, if he's going to get personal, you can also flip that script around on him.
Okay.
Well, there's actually some research out there, and we've cited it a couple of times on the show here. I don't have the title of the paper and everything, but it was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. And it's basically, it describes people's views of what they think God thinks about certain issues. And remarkably enough, the views that they think God thinks about certain issues, they're the same views they have about those issues. So basically, it documents the idea that your God always hates all the same people you hate, and the fact that people's God, their concept of God is a one-off. So this whole idea that you'll find Jesus in your heart, basically what he's validating is this idea that whatever you already believe, that's what you're going to find in religion. So there's not any really, ultimate truth there. And if he can't answer that, he's basically just admitting that his God is a one-off.
Okay.
I mean, I know that's probably not much help for getting him to answer, but that's kind of an explanation of where he's coming from. He actually doesn't really have a good answer for your questions.
And Russell, are you going to be in Fullerton next week? I think I'm going to see you at a conference.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to be. Whatever the Orange County Free Thought Alliance conference is happening.
Awesome, yeah. Well, thanks guys for taking the call, and I'll see you at that conference.
Okay, come on up, say hi.
Have a good day.
Bye.
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 Aaron in Phoenix.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so pretty much I'm an atheist, my girlfriend is a Mormon, and we talk about our differences. We get along mostly, but whenever we talk about this, it kind of gets to the point where she knows that she's wrong in a way, but she has to believe because of the whole idea of heaven and all that good stuff. So this isn't exactly a love guru show, but do you believe that it's all right to pursue this kind of like discourse? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, it's not up to us to decide if it's all right. It's your relationship. The thing is, either it's all right between the two of you, or you break up. And there is no way of predicting how how a relationship is going to weather or something like that. If what you're saying is true, and she deep down recognizes that she hasn't got good reasons for believing things, you can always hold out and hope that eventually this is going to be too much for her and she's going to just give up on the whole thing. But you can't count on that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things that I'm trying to say with my question, like, if you have members or friends and being religious is a good thing with them, is there any point to pursue it, to tell them about your
You're breaking up really bad there. So can you repeat that?
I mean, if you have family or friends that the religion does something good for them, actually, is there any point to pursue it?
Pursue what?
Pursue a discourse with them on if God is real or not and all that.
As long as you enjoy the discourse and she enjoys the discourse, then sure. I mean, it really comes down to a matter of personal preference.
Well, and I think that ironing out issues about religion are really important before you formalize your relationship with marriage or whatever. And especially if you're later on planning on having kids, you got to have these issues settled before then, or at least have an agreement for how you're going to proceed with this. Because if she's a Mormon, there are lots of implications for a Mormon being involved with a non-Mormon, one of which is you can't get married in the temple. So how does she feel about that? That's a big deal.
And would she expect to raise the kids Mormon?
Yeah.
Obviously, that
And
is a serious issue for both of you.
Yeah, that's huge. So
Yeah, I know.
those are questions. I mean, you have to have this kind of conversation. And whatever comes out of that conversation, it's got to be something you can both live with, or you really don't have much in the way of options.
All right, thank you guys so much. I know this isn't exactly a love call-in show, but I feel this is something that many atheists probably experience.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is. And, we're not saying it can't work, but it's something that you need to be cautious about. And, you need to be aware of the possibility that if there are things that are, I believe, irreconcilable differences is the legal term for why lots and lots of marriages end up in divorce. And it's a good idea to find out early on if they're irreconcilable or not.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a good day.
All right.
Thanks.
See ya.
It's interesting, when I was doing the second parent adoption of my son, one of the requirements for second parent adoption is that you have to have a social worker come in and do a home study. Mm-hmm. And, they don't care about atheism. So I adopted my son as a second parent as an out atheist lesbian, okay, in Texas. It's legal, nothing wrong with it, okay. They didn't care about the lesbian part, they didn't care about the atheist part. But the big thing that they were concerned about was that my partner and I were on the same page when it came to religion. So that they were, they wanted to make sure that we both held, the same views about how we were going to raise our son. Otherwise, that would have been considered a big red flag for the stability of the home. So just a thought there. This is kind of a big deal. And so, people who are focused on child welfare, they pay attention to those things.
Yeah.
So you should too, if you're going into a relationship that you expect to be long-term and you're going to bring children into it.
Right. And of course, being on the same page doesn't mean you have the same religion necessarily. But it means that you have some kind of consensus about what you're going to do with the kids.
Yes.
Cello in Long Island?
Hello?
Hello, yes. This
Oh.
is Cello. How are you?
Hey,
Good.
how are you?
If you like my name, I go Cello.
Cello.
Actually, the reason I'm talking to you guys is because my friend Andrew, I invited him to play Stratego, and he said, I got to watch this show. So I was interested because I respect Andrew tremendously.
Oh, okay. Well, Stratego players can't be all bad.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and I've been a Unitarian Universalist for quite a long time. I was brought up Catholic. That wasn't working for me. It became a UU, and once I joined my congregation, I realized there's a lot of atheists in my congregation, and I was wondering what your thoughts were about atheists and their relationship with Unitarian Universalists.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, we have, John Accoletti has been kind of open about the fact that he used to attend a UU congregation here in Austin. So he was a member of the UU congregation for a long time.
Yeah, when I went to American Atheist Convention last month, I spent a lot of my time going out to clubs and bars and stuff with a UU minister from Missouri.
Yeah.
So they are generally cool people, and I think mostly the Unitarian religion, such as it is, has no position on God. Am I right?
Well, they do and they don't. The thing is about Unitarian Universalists, we're not about dogma. For example, you may be sitting in a pew with an atheist next to you, a former Muslim, a Buddhist, a Catholic myself, and so on. And what I think is great about it, I've learned it's opened my mind much more to my other brethren that may believe certain things that I do or may not. And that's been great, where I know if I stayed as a Catholic, I would have never, ever entertained the idea.
Sure. So
Yeah.
are you yourself a God-believing Unitarian or what?
Yes, I am a God-believing Unitarian.
Okay. You don't have a problem with atheists, though.
No, I don't. I think
Okay.
that's the problem with our world. We have too many problems creating problems where there's really no need to. What I've learned, I feel like as a Catholic, when I was brought up as a Catholic, that I know more atheists and agnostics actually walk the path of Jesus Christ than some Catholic people that I know. And what I mean by that is basically not Jesus as thinking of him like the Holy Trinity and the whole thing. I'm talking about him as an activist, as a social justice type of guy.
Yeah.
That
Well,
is
I
the
personally have some disagreements with
Yeah.
Jesus also as a person, the way he's portrayed in the Bible. But there are some good things he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But I think people get caught up so much on the aspect of, I'm right, you're wrong. If I'm right, you got to be wrong. And I don't really care about that. I really care about how one human being treats another human being. That's what it's really all about. And that's what it comes down to. So I really do believe in a golden rule, and that's it. Everything else is just basically celebrating diversity. And if my brethren does not believe in God, so be it. If he does,
well,
that's fine too.
I think for the most part, I'm with you that it's really important how people treat each other, and I think that you and I would probably have the same goals in a lot of aspects of life. At the same time, I do find the question of whether God exists or not an interesting question that influences people's thinking in a lot of ways, and I do like having those conversations, obviously, or I wouldn't be here.
Right, and we like having those conversations as well.
Right.
As you use, anyway. But
Sure.
thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for
Thanks.
calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Go ahead and pick up number 2 there real quick.
2? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Kyle in Indiana.
Hey, Russell.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Great. I hope you guys are doing well. Long-time watcher, first-time caller, Hey, I'm up here in Indiana, and right before you guys went on break, we passed the Freedom of Religion Restoration Act.
Right.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
restoring
it's
something that was never in jeopardy. Yes.
Yeah, and it turns out it's basically an anti-gay
Yep.
law. But I guess I'm calling to defend most of the people up here in Indiana who really don't support it. And it's almost like an obvious example of how a small group of religious people can really influence government.
Yeah.
Was that thing put up for a vote? I mean, was there a popular election, or was it just a bunch of lawmakers who had already been elected decided to
went
push
to our
that through?
house, and then it's presented to the governor, and it was signed into law. Now, it hasn't went into effect yet, but it's certainly going to. They revised it to make the wording a little better. But what I think is really strange about it, no matter how you look at it, 50 years from now, when the times finally change, you're going to find these same people probably standing up and saying how they supported gay rights and how they're at the forefront, when in all reality they've done nothing but try and suppress equal rights.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I've found interesting about these state-level RFRA laws, which are really, like you said, thinly disguised anti-gay legislation. This is basically the no cake for gays kind of laws. And they're defending them, saying, oh, but there's this federal RFRA law that, you know, was passed and nobody had a problem with that. And the difference is that the federal RFRA law was passed with bipartisan support, and it was designed to protect religious minorities who, for example, use peyote in a religious ritual, so that they couldn't be fired or discriminated against because their religious rituals require the use of this otherwise controlled substance. Now, I don't agree with that either, because I think no religion should get any kind of special treatment under the law. That said, I don't have a problem with peyote use either. I think that, you know, but you know, if it's going to be illegal for some people, it should be illegal for everybody.
Absolutely.
And but they're comparing it to that, and it's like, okay, this is not the same thing. This whole deal with the, you know, there's a difference between carving out a special place for certain minority religions, which again I disagree with, but and then also creating a law that's used as a bludgeon against another minority. And that's what these state-level RFRA laws do, is they basically create a bludgeon that can be used against other minorities.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the thing you're saying, Jen. I guess it's just funny to me how, and I have a lot of gay friends here, and actually in Huntington, which is a pretty small town, but all over, and most people I know also do too, yet we'll allow our state legislature to make us look really bad. I mean, we're losing business. And I guess since I know you guys are down in Texas, I guess I'm just sort of sending a appeal out to those who do watch your show that Indiana's not as bad as they're making us look.
Oh, we've got our own version of this going through the legislature right now.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things about, I guess one of the external criticisms of Texas has historically been we don't have a professional legislature. So the ledge only meets every 2 years. And, you know, they're in session for a few months and then they go away for another 2 years. Okay, and people are saying, oh, you know, that's kind of a problem. Maybe you should have like professional legislators. And we're like, no. They can only screw things up for a brief window of time every 2 years. And so right now the circus is in town. And they'll be gone in a little while, and then we won't have to worry about these yahoos for another 2 years. But yeah, that's actually like a feature, not a bug, the fact that we don't have professional legislators here in Texas.
I guess if you want to see a silver lining to all this, it is that these kinds of legislations are really kind of a desperation move by old people who are losing support on this pet issue. And if you look for support for gay marriage over time, you're finding, like, I think that within the last year, it's become, for the first time, like well over 50%.
Yes, it's like over 60% now.
60%.
First time ever that's
over
been
60.
the case.
Yeah.
So this is a done deal. And you know, the Supreme Court's going to rule on this summer.
Right.
It's going to be the law of the land, and there will be much wailing and gnashing of teeth over this by the religious right, but they know they are on the wrong side of history. They're losing.
Yeah, they're gonna lose.
And
I mean, even lots of Republicans have started saying that, like, look, we're gonna have to abandon this issue.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna have to find some other hill to die on.
Yeah.
And that's sort of why I was saying earlier that I could see in the future, once everything is settled, these same people that were against gay rights actually stand up and try and pretend like they were at the forefront. Sort of what I saw with the Equal Rights Amendment and women's rights and such. Hey, I'll get off here and let you guys take some more calls. Thanks very much. I love what you guys do. Keep it up.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Cool.
Bye.
See ya. Nicholas in Florida.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
All right.
Hey, my question is basically the Kalam cosmological argument. I'm sure you guys have probably heard it before.
Yep,
but
it's
before
wrong.
I start, before I start, I guess I might as well make sure both of you would subscribe to the Big Bang cosmological model. Would that be correct?
I think that it is
It's-
the best known
yeah.
explanation of the expansion of the universe.
Given that neither of us is a cosmologist,
Right.
we
Right,
accept the
yeah.
consensus view of the
Right.
cosmologists.
And also, you realize that that the Big Bang is not treated as like the very first thing that ever happened.
Right. That's as far back as we could as we know so far.
To the Planck time, yes.
Right. So my question, I guess, would be, considering that it's not the first thing to happen, it would have a cause, I'm assuming.
Potentially.
What do you mean potentially?
Well, when I say that it's not, I mean, first of all, there was a Planck time before that, so we
Right.
can't
Right.
tell exactly what happened before that.
Right.
But there's one model of the universe that suggests that time and space came into existence simultaneously, and so the notion that there is a before at a certain point ceases to have any meaning.
Right. But would you agree that something, whatever that thing might be, or things, plural, or whatever it might be, the Big Bang at least would have had a cause?
You can't make that claim.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Planck time. We
Would you
can't
say
tell
that-
what was going on before that.
Would you say that based on everything we know about reality so far, it would be more plausible to say that there was a cause for the Big Bang?
Everything we know about reality so far has like no resemblance to what was happening around the time of the Big Bang. So it barely makes sense to even speculate about that.
Yeah.
So would you say it's possible that the universe, whatever that might entail, when I say the universe, I mean literally everything, which would be whatever that might be before the Big Bang or during it and after it, would you say it's possible that it infinitely regresses?
Maybe?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to check up on that, see what you guys thought of that. I guess as far as I could think, the infinite regression just doesn't seem to make any sense on any level. It seems
But an infinite being does?
Yeah.
well, see, yeah, that's something that's common with it's sort of like, okay, the Big Bang, for example, or infinite universes compared to, well, if the infinite universe is ridiculous, then an infinite God would be ridiculous. Well, the difference, I kind of view it like this. We're talking about, they kind of leave out the fact that God is uncreated. So if you're talking about the universe, or
Well, I
uncaused,
mean,
so
that's
I'll use
just special
uncaused.
pleading.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
if you agree,
I'll use
if
uncaused.
if
I'm
you're
saying-
saying at the outset that there is something uncreated or uncaused, there is no particular reason to think that that it's a God. You're saying that some things have that attribute.
But basically what I'm saying is that when it comes down to it, as far as any origin theory at all, as far as like let's just say that religion isn't true, or let's just say that anything goes. Essentially, let's think of any possibility. In our wildest imagination, the only thing I can see that we're left with is either infinite regress, or for example, an infinite universe, which doesn't make sense on anything we know so far. Nothing adds up to there being an infinite regress. You come up with all kinds of issues like, okay, well, how is there?
Okay, everything you're
how is
saying
there,
right
for
now
example,
about
how is there-
infinite regresses, I also think about God. So that isn't getting us anywhere.
Right. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Let's say that we applied that to God. Well, you're left with infinite regress, which I'm assuming would be absurd.
So
on
is
any-
God.
on any
So where are
level
you
I can
going with
think.
this?
I'm trying to ask basically, in your wildest imagination, like if you could think of any ultimate origin or whatever, if you just kept going back in time, so to speak, would it be and I'm not trying to do special pleading or try to say, oh, well, if it's more probable to believe in God, well, we should just believe in God. I'm not trying to argue that, but I'm just saying for the sake of argument here, would it be which one is more, well, I'll say which one is less ridiculous, I'll put it that way, a being who is uncaused and eternal, or us
Why
having
do
an
you
infinite
apparently
universe?
have a problem with something infinite, but then in the same breath say that you don't think it's ridiculous
Because
at
the
all for
difference-
God
because
to be
the
infinite?
difference- because there's a difference between comparing God with the universe. The universe
What?
we know is not infinite regress. We know
No,
that it
our
has a beginning,
specific-
at least as far as
Our specific part of the universe that we know. We don't know what else is outside the universe. It could be another universe for all we know.
as far as the entire universe itself would necessarily include everything that exists. that
No,
we know of,
because
at least.
there's two meanings of the term universe. When we talk about the universe that began with the Big Bang, we're not talking about the universe in the mathematical sense of like the universe of all numbers or something, the set of everything. I mean, you're conflating the two, and they used the same words. But the thing is, we don't actually know that the universe is all-encompassing.
As far as space and time are concerned, as far as the farthest knowledge we've gotten so far is that space and time started at some point,
This universe of space and time.
which we have zero evidence of any other universe in existence.
Nor do
besides
we
this
have any
universe.
evidence of a God, so we're stuck.
Well, I'm not talking about yet. I'm just talking very far. So
I'm
so
doing a lot of talking. You want to take over for a minute?
No, let's.
All right, Jen's enjoying
so
listening.
As far as basically what I'm saying is that right now our current level of knowledge is essentially that space and time itself, at least in this universe, I'll grant that at least, even though there's zero evidence for any other universe, but in this universe, at least space and time had a beginning. Well, if I were to just
I said that's one possibility.
if I were to presuppose, let's say, that God didn't exist, if I were to just smash that out, any sort of deity, any sort of ultimate being, in other words, anything that is uncaused and eternally backwards in time, forward, backward, just eternally existent,
Whoops.
uncaused thing.
The spaghetti monster committed suicide.
If I were to just presuppose that did not exist or can't exist or whatever, and I were to try to think of any sort of explanation, ultimate explanation, in other words, for the universe. Let's say there was another. Here's what I'm saying basically. If there was another universe outside of this universe, or multiple universes or multiverses, I would still need an explanation for those multiverses. And if I had an explanation for that explanation, I'd need another explanation. At some point, what I'm saying is, at some point logically, you could only do one of three things basically.
So you
could
feel
say-
that the best way out of this conundrum is to just make something up that has infinite properties.
I'm trying to get your view, but I want to finish.
We think it's absurd.
Yeah.
What else do we
don't
need to say? We think it's
don't
absurd.
think God is a useful
No,
explanation.
I'm not talking about God yet. I'm about to ask your view of three possibilities, essentially for everything, like everything, the whole universe, multiverses, etc. Basically, the way I figure it, I can only think of three possibilities. There's the one would be that there is an infinitely uncreated first cause of everything, and this being, or whatever you would call it, just
Why? I
infinitely
wouldn't
exists.
call it a being.
Or whatever, well, yeah, whatever. This thing, whatever it would
This
be.
thing.
Just this thing or things were the uncaused first cause, essentially. There's the one possibility. Well, let's just say that that's utterly ridiculous and throw that out. So what would we be left with? When I try to think of what we would be left with, I can think of two possible things. Okay, either the ultimate first cause thing is just something that started out of literally nothing, and by nothing I mean actually I don't mean it in the way that Krauss talks about, where he says, "Oh, nothing is." I mean what rocks dream about, basically nothing. So there's the two final possibilities would be either A, something started out of literally nothing and just spontaneously popped into existence, which to me, on every level of imagination, that makes no sense for something to just spontaneously
So
pop
which
in
one
out
of these
out
options do
literally-
you think God did?
What?
Which one of these options do you think God did?
I want to finish my.
No, I would
three
like to hear an
possibilities.
answer to that question.
Which one do I think God did?
Yeah.
I don't know what method or how God exactly would
So
have
you're
started it all.
uncomfortable with the idea of not knowing where the universe came from,
no,
but
I'm not
you
saying
are
that.
addressing that uncomfortableness by inventing another explanation which has the exact same problems as our lack of knowledge about the ultimate origins of the universe, right?
I don't think it's fair for you to not let me finish and then say what I believe about something when I haven't even told you what I believe. That doesn't sound very fair.
Well,
So if I
the
could
thing is
just-
that when I talk to people advancing the Kalam cosmological argument, almost
Right.
universally they are trying to promote a Christian God.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
But
trying to
they
I'm not
come
trying
at
to promote
they
that.
come at this question with this sort of vague, oh, I'm not really. I mean, it's like the intelligent design people saying, hey, I'm not talking about God, but nudge, nudge, it's really God.
Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to.
How else could it
no,
happen,
I'm not
right?
trying to. I'm not trying to convince you. I want to ask you your view on what the three possibilities would be. Basically, that's my questioning. Now, I'm still doing research on the whole, Big Bang theories things. I have a lot of research to do, so I don't want to say. Basically, I don't want to say my view if I haven't actually done the research yet. So I want to ask you guys what your opinion, I guess, with this. So again, the three possibilities have already gone. You could say the first theory would be God or some sort of ultimate infinite being that was uncreated, just eternally existed. The second possibility is that at some point in the past, or whatever our approximation of the past would be, whatever you want to call that, the ultimate final thing as far back as you can go, as far as anything goes, as far as multiverses, universe, the entire universe, everything, omniverse, the whole inclusive thing. Would
First
be
cause,
at
we
some-
got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, something just popped into existence. And then the third possibility is that the universe, or multiverses, or whatever you would call it, is infinite. It just infinitely regresses. Well, if you take out the first possibility, and then I'm assuming you would take out the final third one, because an infinite regressing universe or multiverses doesn't make sense in light of entropy.
I
and the
think
sun
you're
burning out.
mistaken
How
here
are we
about our
not-
position. We haven't taken out any of those definitively. The answer is just we don't know and have no basis for making a decision between those things.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one would you say out of those three possibilities? Basically, my
None of the
question-
above.
Don't know. That is
We don't
really
know.
the
Wait a
Wait a minute,
answer.
hang on a minute. I'm not asking you which one you believe. I'm not asking you that. I'm saying
Okay.
out of those, could I want to finish the sentence, please. Out of those three possibilities, would you say that there's another possibility besides those three, or if not, out of those three, which would you say is the more likely one, the most likely? And it doesn't have to be the first one, but in your opinion, what would be the most likely out of those three possibilities? And if none of those, do you have a fourth possibility, a fifth one, etc.?
The answer to all of those things is still don't know.
No. I'm not asking if you know. I know you don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
either. Let's just say for argument's sake,
Look,
I don't know either.
there
I
could
have no clue, right?
look.
I'm
I
asking you
can
in your-
speculate and make up answers the same as
Right.
you, but I have
No.
I mean, like I could say there is actually a fourth possibility that I haven't thought of yet. Or I could come up with a fourth possibility that I could make up off the top of my head, as you're doing with God.
I'm not asking
but-
you to do that.
But, what you're asking me to do basically is tell you yes or no, those three possibilities that you've just listed are exhaustive. And the answer is, I don't know. There could be a fourth
I'm not
possibility.
asking
There
you-
could
I'm
not
not
be a
asking
fourth
you-
possibility.
I'm not asking you to give a definitive answer. I'm just asking, in your opinion, based on what you know so far at least, in your opinion, what would you say? I'm not asking you to agree with any of those.
I
or say
really,
that-
really don't have a position on this, and you can ask me all the different ways of rewording it that you can think of, but my answer is still going to be I don't have a position because I don't know. That's it.
Okay, so you can't even give a guess on what would you personally think at the moment would be the most likely. You can't even say that.
Not really. Personally, I think God is the least likely of those, but that's
Okay, well, if you
personal
could-
preference.
Well, hang on a minute. If you can say that he's the least likely, then you've now just made the two remaining ones at least more likely.
No,
compared
we
to that.
haven't.
You just said it's the least
no.
likely.
Slightly.
Well,
I don't know.
rejecting one wrong answer doesn't mean that other possibly wrong answers
said
are more likely.
He said least likely. That's a comparative
Of
term.
the
which
three
means he's
things
saying
you
that
listed.
You're basically saying the two remaining ones are more likely in comparison to the first. So you now actually have made a judgment on it.
Okay.
All right, fine.
So what?
Okay. Well, I guess now that you've knocked out the first one at least.
No, I haven't knocked it out. I just said it's
sorry,
the
no,
least
I didn't
likely.
mean knock out. Sorry. Now that you've made the first one, you've made it clear that you think it's the least likely. Out of the remaining two, do you have an opinion on what the remaining two? Which one of those is more or less likely?
No.
Nope.
Nothing. No
No.
opinion at all.
Nope.
That's odd.
They may not even be
thanks for-
They may not even be the only remaining options.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying they are the remaining options.
Okay.
There might be more. I'm just saying out of those two, what would you got? You have zero. You have absolutely zero
Listen.
opinion in any
Not only
way.
that, we're not even that interested in those two.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying you are interested. I'm just asking
Listen,
your opinion.
I have some change in my pocket. How much change does it add up to you? Do you have an opinion on that?
I would say I could make, if you gave me information about each, like the coins or whatever, I could make an approximation of what's
Good
more likely.
point.
Yes.
Well, let me. I'll give you.
But
I'll
in the
answer that. I'll
absence
answer- I
of
can
that
answer right now. I
information,
can
you
answer that.
don't
I can
even
answer
have
that right now.
speculation, right?
Could I answer the question then?
Okay.
I'll answer it right now. If you asked me what's more likely to be in your pocket, $1 million and change, $100 and change.
I'll
or
narrow it
$2.
down for you. It
Or
is
two-
between
hang
1
on,
cent and
can I
99
finish my-
cents.
can I
Now,
finish
which
my
of
sentence?
those
Please,
values
can I
do you
finish the
think is the
sentence?
most? No, you can't.
Why? I don't interrupt you when you're talking. I want to just finish the sentence. I'm just saying, if you asked me if it's more likely for there to be $2, $100, or $1 billion in your
That's
pocket, I would
not the
say-
question I asked you.
What's the question?
I have an amount between 1 cent and 99 cents. Which of those things do you think is most likely?
And I think that analogy you're making is not applicable because it's not the same as an analogy that I was making with the three questions.
Well,
'Cause I
that's true
believe-
because we have even less information about the universe than you have information about coins in my pocket.
But you can use your brains and you can use the laws of logic and rules to
Can you use the
approximate
laws
which
of
one is
logic
more
to
or
tell
less
me how
likely.
much change I have in my pocket?
And I think it's a false analogy. It doesn't apply to the question that
Well,
I
Okay.
asked
not
you.
only that, but there are actually a finite number of guesses that you could possibly make about the amount of change Russell has in his pocket. Whereas
Right.
I don't even know that we've narrowed down the possibilities for the questions you're asking.
Well, how about this? I'll skip the whole which one is more likely. Could I at least ask this? Do you think that it's possible that there is or there would be, I guess. Do you think it's possible that there is an ultimate uncaused thing or things?
I think I'm going to go with Tracy's answer on this one, which is I don't even know enough to tell you whether it's possible or not.
Yeah.
It just seems a little weird that you wouldn't even be able to say it's a possibility. I mean, if you can't...
I don't know.
It just seems weird because, like, for example, somebody asked me, "Do unicorns exist?" I would say no, but it's
How
so
do you know?
incredibly unlikely that they might as well not exist. So I'd still be able
Okay.
to give an approximate. If they said, "Is it even remotely possible that unicorns exist?" I would have to say, "Yes, it is remotely possible." I would never say, I can't have an opinion on that because I would have to at least grant that it's a possibility. So it seems a little weird that.
Okay. Well,
that
the
you would
search
answer
space
with,
for
"We don't know."
for unicorns is a lot smaller than the search space for God. I mean, you are, after all, talking about Earth, where there are generally multiple copies of any particular biological species.
Right.
So, I mean, we have a lot more information about unicorns than we have for this vague notion of God, which seems to be all over the place. Because, I mean,
You have
you know
more
and I know
information
that
about
you're talking
unicorns.
about the Christian God, but you won't even say
let's-
that much. But yeah.
Let's clarify. What are your religious beliefs, Nicholas?
Christian.
Okay.
Okay.
Specifically, what flavor of Christianity?
Well, I'd be one of those people who would say I'm not any flavor. It's just biblical Christianity. Of course, you would immediately say, well, that's what a lot of different people say. But I guess the closest would be Reformed. What would it be called? What's the opposite of sort of a Protestant or Reformed
Catholic?
Protestant.
Yeah,
But
Catholic.
of course, the justification for being a Protestant, I would immediately argue, would be the biblical text and whatnot. And I would argue that Catholicism is opposed to the Bible.
Okay. We
on
don't see any
multiple
particular
levels.
merit in the biblical text, but
Yeah.
What did you say? What did you say?
I mean, since we don't see any particular merit in the biblical text, we don't consider people who say they're more biblical to be more or less Christian than other people. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
I never said
that's
that.
kind of for you guys to work out between yourselves.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's an in-house debate.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for calling.
See you guys.
I
All right.
caused these flying spaghetti monster to commit suicide, but
Poor spaghetti monster. Jeff in California.
Hello.
Yeah.
hello.
Hi.
Hi, how you guys doing?
We have a very few
We
minutes.
have like
So-
8, 7-ish minutes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
what's on your mind?
Okay. So I'll go ahead and let you guys know that I am a Roman Catholic.
Yes, we
Okay.
know. We got that information. Well, we
I
know you're a
didn't know.
theist.
Yeah.
Roman
okay,
Catholic,
yeah, I'm
cool.
a theist. But most of my friends are atheists, and I enjoy, just keeping up with the new atheists and all that they have to say. I just have a couple questions, I guess. These aren't necessarily these are sincerely curious questions. I'm not necessarily trying to, set you guys up for anything, but I guess would you guys assert the materialist worldview? I guess my question is essentially, do you believe in anything outside of nature or beyond nature or our understanding?
Do we believe in supernatural things? Is that the question?
Not necessarily supernatural, but things that we just aren't evolved enough to understand, I guess.
I don't feel like I'm up enough on all the, philosophical nuances, but I would definitely say I lean materialist. So, in the sense that, for instance, if you would ask me where human thoughts and feelings come from, I would say, I would discuss it in terms of, there are these electrical patterns in the brains
Yeah,
that influence our behavior.
Brain chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah, so in that way, I would refer to myself probably as a methodological naturalist in the sense that it's only really useful to talk about and speculate on things that can be tested, but not necessarily a philosophical naturalist where I say, yes, absolutely, I rule out everything that isn't part of the natural world.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
I mean, there are certainly things out there that we don't understand yet. I don't think that I've yet to see anything that can be explored using the methods of science.
Okay, I guess my question was more do you think that there's anything that can't exactly be studied through science?
No.
No?
I just said
maybe.
I just said that, if there's some kind of phenomenon that's going on that has some effect on the material world, the physical world, I think you can investigate that through the methods of science.
You can at least make efforts.
Yes.
You can't necessarily rule out things that we can't detect through science, but
yeah.
we can't really speculate on them very well either.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess, but I mean that you guys also take a subjective morality kind of view, morality is relative, or do you still believe in a moral law, kind of, I guess?
I would personally say that morality is a set of goals that we define for ourselves to help us get along with each other and have as effective and comfortable a society as possible. And in one sense, that is relative to the kinds of things we all value and want out of life. But in another sense, once we've nailed down that set of goals, there are things which are objectively better or worse at achieving those goals.
Okay. So then, but like, okay, yeah. Back to what I was saying with the materialist worldview. So then, how can you test any of those moral claims if, like, you can't obviously, like, look at morality under a microscope? If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, like Russell said, there are some things that are objectively better, produce better outcomes than others.
Well, not
So-
necessarily well-being versus, like, suffering, but, like, good versus evil.
Okay.
What's the difference?
Yeah. How do you define that?
How do you define that?
Yeah.
Just through your conscience, I guess?
What?
Well, I mean,
That's
what
not an
makes
answer.
something
Isn't
good?
that sort of a guiding hand? Like, we already, like, no one, like, ever questioned the idea of, like, gravity just because you knew it was there. So isn't sort of that, like, just sort of
Yeah, but gravity has a definition. You know.
naturally implanted?
Yeah. I mean, like Russell said, gravity has a definition. So how do you define whether something is good or evil?
Okay, that's a good point. I guess, like, whether it would be well-being or suffering.
Okay, so there's some effect that it has on somebody, right? And that's kind of what Russell was saying before. There's an objective, outcome based on a choice that you make.
Okay. Another one, I guess this is off point, but just out of curiosity. So, were both of you converts probably? Like, did you have a faith before and then slowly moved into atheism, I guess?
Yes, I was raised as a Christian.
Not me. I am a fourth-generation atheist.
Oh, okay. And so then have you guys, I guess for your conversion process, did you do a lot of reading or anything like that? Like, did you read any atheists that helped you, or any Christian reading that sort
I
of...
actually deconverted as a result of reading the Bible.
Okay. Anything besides the Bible?
I'm sorry?
Anything other than the Bible, I guess? Like, were there any authors that you read and were just like, oh, wow, like, I can't believe I've been buying this for so long?
Oh, shoot, we're out of time.
No authors in particular. I actually had a lot of conversations with other religious people in addition to reading the Bible. And it was only much later that I started reading atheist literature. But by then I was pretty much
Hey, that's
on
our
the path.
show. And before I go, I just want to mention that apparently I have 46 cents in my pocket.
There you go.
That is the answer. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you at El Arroyo at 6. Thanks, Jen, for coming.
Yes.
And bye.